Welcome, everyone, to Wired for Wonder. My name is Lori Kirkland, and we are here today to talk with forward thinking leaders, people who are thinking about what the future of work could look like in a changing world. And we are excited today to have with us Meryl Eriksen, who is the Chief Compassionate Officer for Compassion Leadership Circle. Meryl, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Lori. I'm delighted to be here.
Just to give our audience some background on you, do you want to give us just a brief overview of kind of who you are and how you've gotten to your position?
Sure. My background's mostly in hospitality. I spent decades in luxury hospitality and I have three young children. And so I work for Compassionate Leaders Circle the last few years, working with companies and people trying to make the world a little bit better. And also I run cooking classes. I teach cooking classes to kids. That's like my fun project. I love to cook and I love to garden. So, sort of my fun other things that happen in my life aside from our day to day work.
I'm a big gardener too, and I can't even wait to get started. It's springtime finally. Yay.
Totally. Totally.
Nice, nice. Well, just to kick off, first off, let's hear a little bit about how did you become a chief compassionate officer? I mean, that is such a juicy topic or such a juicy title. And I mean, man, does that sound like showing up to work is really fun when you have that title. You want to give us
Yeah,
a little bit of background about what you do and what that means?
sure. I mean, our goal as an organization is really to build compassionate cultures, and to design and develop organizations and cultures where people really have some purpose and meaning in the work that they're doing. Um, and so, compassion is a word that we sort of bat around as like a little soft and can be a little floppy. But my goal is to bring compassion into the workplace. I work with organizations, both profit and nonprofit, and in higher education. And that is the goal: is to bring conversations to a level that are real and honest about what's happening. Compassion is when we alleviate or prevent suffering, and
Mm.
so, as we apply that to sort of the working world, how do we do that as leaders? And so, my title sort of evolved a little bit over the last couple of years. But ultimately, when I'm in a conversation with somebody, that's what we're talking about. How do we bring that to life? How do we live it? How do we teach it? How do we lead with it? And so, it's sort of morphed into its own title, but it is a very good title.
It is a very good title. And it's really funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking about when you talk about alleviating suffering, that almost goes against what the workplace, is like today, right? Many of us can think about our past experiences or even some of the day to day, right? Where you're filled with tasks that they do cause you suffering. They're not exciting to you. They're definitely not purpose driven, which is where I like you mentioned as well. But also we have businesses to run. So give us a little bit of insight into how do you even broach the subject, or who are the people maybe who are really seeing the value of bringing compassion to the workplace, and then what types of results are they seeing?
That, oh my gosh, we could just talk for hours about that. But what I think is important to think about is not everybody believes compassion belongs in the workplace. And while I would love to say that everyone is going to join on to our team and forever be champion compassion, I don't think that is real. And so the clients and the people that we work with are already trying to lead and live with that level of sort of love in their environment. And so, we're aligning ourselves with individuals who are already trying to do that work. And compassion, I didn't bring any studies with me, but man, there's a lot of information out there about sort of the return on investment of having people feel fulfilled
Mm.
and like they show up with some purpose every day. Imagine, just put yourself in a position where you show up for work that you don't like, you're transacting all day, responding to emails, you're sitting in meetings, none of it feels motivating or inspiring to you, and you're just sort of clicking through the day, right? It's like a task you're trying to complete. Okay, so put that in one side. And then on the other side, you have people who are totally engaged. They feel excited about the work they're doing. They're feeling some sort of acknowledgement. They are feeling like they're a valued part of the team. And just for your own self or for anyone listening, which would you rather be?
Yeah.
I mean, and let it speak for itself, because people don't want to show up and transact all day. I mean, maybe some people do, but for the most part, we work a lot. So why wouldn't we try to find work that is exciting and fulfilling to us, that is rewarding in an environment with people that we enjoy?
You are bringing up a topic that I'm passionate about, and I like your word transaction, right? If we think about work where it's at, and right, I'm in the AI space, so I'm really excited about the fact that we are all faced with this. We're on the precipice of change. It is happening, right? We're watching things go on in the world where systems are being torn down, so it's leaving this big open space for what could work look like in the future. So as you're talking, one of the things that really came up for me was, let's get rid of some of the transactions. I don't know how we got here as humans, but we've definitely gotten to the place where you don't matter. You come in and I like your work. You do tasks, you transact, and then you leave, and then you become a human again. Right? Like you're not going to you're not going to do transactional tasks with your family, right? Like you're just not going to do that, because that's not fulfilling, that's not valuable for them or for yourself. But we've somehow done that and created the environment in a lot of, and it's not, the people who have created the compassionate workplaces are far fewer than the ones who have created the transactional. So when I talk about the future of work and thinking about the fact that we as humans have this opportunity to create something new, what do you think would be some of the skills that people could, hone in on for themselves personally to help change and shift values as we're constructing a new way of working?
I think one of the most eye-opening things for me is the ability to integrate some sort of contemplative practice into your life. And by that, I don't mean you have to spend 2 hours meditating in the morning before you get up. I mean, this is like, let's take a minute between meetings where you can stand up, take a deep breath, clear your mind, and just take a pause. Because the amount of transactions that happen every day, there's no space for our brain to process, to react, to have a bright idea. I mean, we're just slammed all day with this amount of information coming at us. And so for me, as I sort of left the corporate world and am now in an environment working as a consultant with places and people, my ability to just clear my mind is like so powerful. I had no idea what I was sort of missing. I hate to say it like that. It's like, have you ever heard of the frog? You put a frog into a pot of boiling water and the frog jumps out, right? But if you put the frog into like cool water and then you sort of slowly warm it, right? The frog doesn't know what's happening. It's like, you don't know you're in that transaction nightmare until you step out of it and you're like, okay, I can think. Now you talked about gardening. That's where my thinking comes in. People say like in the shower, that's when they have great ideas. It's like when your mind has space to think is when clarity sort of comes to the forefront. And so as a skill, figuring out how to practice that in your daily life in a way that is manageable and achievable for you is a very powerful tool for individuals to hone in on.
And you know what? I love that, because did you know that we're actually, from a neuroscience perspective, we have a whole different thought process that is activated when you're not doing task oriented work. So you mentioned gardening or the shower. You actually have it's called the default mode network. And you actually have a whole part of your brain that literally helps you more strategically solve problems across both work and non-work and every experience in your life when you take a break. So that is why you get aha moments in the shower or in gardening, because it's basically like letting your brain categorize everything you're seeing into like a Netflix queue. Like you're letting your brain have time to digest and organize it. So I love that you talked about that. And I agree with you, right? Like we all don't get to meditate 3 hours at work. We've got stuff to do. But in the same time, we could use a lot less of filling up every meeting of every second, because you
Sure.
actually are creating inefficiency as a human being when you go from task to task to task to task.
Especially when you're asking people to perform on bright, brilliant ideas or very innovative things, but yet you're requiring them to spend, every minute sort of scheduled down is like very counterintuitive because your brain doesn't work like that. It needs sort of that space and time. And, that working with your hands, whether it's gardening or it's cooking or it's woodworking, it's like painting, artistry, any of that is so sort of therapeutic for your mind to just sort of let things happen and
Yeah.
react to them.
Like, we are creative beings. We are here to, we are makers, right? We are here to build and evolve. I mean, humans are a crazy adaptive machine. But you bring up something for me too that I don't know how to say this, but there has been a lot of practice in the work world and a lot of ego tied into, I can predict what my team is working on, what I'm working on. I have this very, very clear plan. So therefore, if I schedule every second, I'm not going to be wasting any minutes. But
Mm.
you and I just talked about how you actually create more inefficiencies. What do you think, right? Again, knowing we're in this time of change, like, what do you think are some things that either may lead to people being really tied to that, that the past patterns of everything is planned and predicted, or um what do you think that is? I think there's something around ego. I'm not really sure what it is, but it feels like there's something that in the work world there's more prizes for having a schedule laid out than there actually is for the outcome to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, what a tricky question. I think ego, and I do think there's some generational challenge there. Like the way that we always have done things is just the way that we do them, and so don't challenge, don't change. It seems to be working just fine, and it's like right, just fine is okay. But if you want to build culture and retention and employees who are very invested in what you're doing, you have to think different. You can't do what we've always done. And so whether it's ego or it's, age difference or whatever it is that creates that sort of friction, I'll use as a term between people who are like transacting 1 million times and people who are thinking big picture about who they are, what their goals are, what their team goals are, how they're going to get to them creatively. It's
Mhm.
like totally different worlds. Like people who live in one bucket and the other are just mind blown when they step into the other space. Um, and ego, I mean, I don't know how to fix ego. I mean, I do you know how to fix ego? I
I,
don't know.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
I think
we all fight with our own ego and then the egos
it's such
around
an
us,
interesting
right?
question because at the end of the day, yeah, you need leaders to go, I'm as a leader going to set sort of the tone here that I'm going to, whatever, take my 10-minute break. Like I get on phone calls with people. I'm sure you do too. And I'm like, they come in, they're like sweating. Oh, they're like, oh my God. Okay. What are we talking about? I'm like, why don't you go take 2 minutes, turn off your camera, turn off your stuff, go to the bathroom, get a
Yeah.
glass of water, like step out of your desk and I'll be here when you come back. Like it's all good. It's going to be okay. But I just don't think it's been encouraged. And I do think it has a lot to do with sort of the way we've done things is the way that we should always do them.
And then I think about the opportunity with AI where, look, if you're still doing absolutely everything in your back to back to back meetings, you got to start playing with AI. Whatever your hardest task is, like, start playing around with it. Whatever's causing you the most pain, right? Like, do the introspection, we were talking about, right? Look inside and be like, this is just causing me pain. And get on a chat bot and say, hey, what are ways that I can actually automate this? Or what are ways that I can reduce doing it? And start thinking to, like, looking at reducing that. Cause I do think that we're stepping into a time where, AI and chatbots are almost like having 10 research assistants, right? Like it's on your own personal team.
Research,
And
data analysis, like anything that you need, it's like right at your fingertips.
creating themes, creating Brene Brown talks about the shitty first draft of presentations, about how that's the hardest thing to create, whether
Yeah.
it's your marketing, whether it's PowerPoint, any of that. But I do believe that there is a bravery that needs to be taken into account, right? To be able to do that, to say, hey, you know what? I am going to purposefully pause and I'm going to send a message to someone I may not know and say, I need a 3-minute bio break because I have to like gather myself. But then you can show up and you're present, right? Which is, I left the corporate world about a year ago as well. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, literally like, 8, 9 hours a day of back to back to back to back. And I don't think I was the best leader, or I served the people I was in those meetings with, because it took me 5 or 10 minutes because I was running late from one to the and going to the next.
And it doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to feel like that, running into one thing after another. It's like, it just feels so disjointed and so transactional. It's like, hey, sorry, I showed up late. My brain's still in the other meeting because I didn't have 2 minutes to like digest any of it. But here I am, ready to join this one. What are we talking about?
As we look at like there's going to be some human skills that are going to be needed to be up leveled and change as we embrace change, which is to me really exciting. I'm an optimist. My business partner will tell you, he's like, you're forever, unicorns and rainbows. And I'm like, I am, because
Somebody has to be, Lori.
I mean, if it's not feeling good for me, I'm like, I don't want anyone else to have to do that too. So how can we try to find a win-win? And I actually think some of the work you guys are doing incorporates a shift in mindsets of, I have this much time in the day. If this person does this, then I lose. Like that zero sum equation. I think that there is a mindset shift that leaders are taking on right now, especially because we're in a time of change where it's like, no, we can actually look and find a win-win. We can look for the abundance mindset of like, hey, right, we can find a way to solve our problems, get our work done, and not make it miserable for people. So when I tell you that, I just wonder what comes up for you.
I think abundance is a really interesting concept to think about outside of money, right? Like, do you have enough sleep in your life? Do you have enough energy to do the things that you want to do? Do you have enough brain capacity, right, to do all those things? And so really starting to sort of tap into abundance. And yes, financially, of course, people want to be able to pay their bills and save some money and, do the things that are important to them. But at the end of the day, if your mind is full and you're not sleeping and, all these other things are non-existent for you, like what are we doing with the money here, people? Like, what?
Right. I mean, it's like we all want money, and somehow we got it switched to where we work for money instead of we get money to work for something that is bigger than us, something that is, I don't know, inspiring and purposeful, and like, right, something that really becomes a source of energy for us. And the money helps us helps us to accomplish it, but it's not the end goal.
We have a program called Lead with Love, and it's a leadership sort of training program, and it can be delivered in a number of different ways, whether it's online or in person, or we've sort of started in person and gone online. We've done a lot of variations, but the goal of it is really sort of, we want people to identify. We talk about something, we have 12 components that we walk through in this process, but one of them is abundance. But there are things like curiosity, integrity, commitment, vision, balance, love. Like, what do these look like in your life, your personal life and your professional life? And, something you said earlier about how like you transact all day, and then you come home and it's like you're a different person.
Yeah.
The world is sort of blending those people in a way that we don't know how to handle right now. And part of the work we do is really about encouraging, yes, you don't want to bring all of your work drama or all of your home drama into the opposite part of your life. But the idea that you have to turn off your work person and turn on your home person is insane. Like, why are we doing that to ourselves? Like,
it's so tiring, right? Like you were both moms. Like I'm like, and honestly, I'll share with you, right, for the past year, I'm all in on the purpose driven, and it feels amazing. And it's like, oh wait, here's all of Lori showing up. But it just gets tiring when you're like, why do I have to pretend that I don't have these emotions? Or we can't talk about soft skills at work. And I agree with you. I think the world is absolutely changing, but I think we have some very ancient models of operating, right, that are holding people back. But if you don't mind, I'd love to delve into like when you talk about your 12 steps of leading with love. Like tell me what's, for yourself or for the company, like what's a big thing that if you were to think 5 years out and you're really thinking about leading with love, like what's something that appears to you of like, this is what I want to be doing. And and we already know making money is it, right? We already all take that off. We know you want to make money. We all want to make money.
Yeah, we all want to make money, right? That is a super great question. My most exciting place to be is in a room of people. I am a coach, but I prefer to be with groups of people. I have some special one-on-one clients that I love, but I prefer to be in a room of people. I thrive on sort of this energy that I can help create. And I think that comes from my hospitality background. It's really about sort of being of service and with sort of an entertaining component to it, I would say.
Yeah.
And so for me right now, I still have 3 young children, but I would love in that 5 years to be speaking, doing speaking engagements and working with larger groups of people on sort of spotlighting and highlighting, like, what does compassion mean and love in the workplace? And like, why should we do that? And what's the benefit of that? And whether that's through a podcast or through a TED Talk or through whatever it is, like that to me is how to spread the message joyfully for me. And, in the past couple of years, I think I haven't spent time looking at my like own values. Let me just say that, right? Like I went to college, I graduated, I got a job, then I got married, then I had kids. And then all of a sudden I'm like, so who are you? Who's this lady? Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, so for me, starting to think about like, what are those values I'm trying to teach to my children and for them to understand? And how do I do that? I do it by enjoying work that I love and showing them that you can find a job that pays the bills and is also something that's fulfilling for you. I think that's a pretty good thing to teach them. Being kind, being joyful, right? Like life doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I married a pessimist and I'm a natural optimist. And so we're always sort of like at odds about like, well, what's the outlook here? And he's like, it's over. Everything's over. And I'm like, no, it's not. Don't be so dramatic. Like,
okay, we can hang. You're on my vibe. Yes. Like,
but I think
a realist and an optimist.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but I think having the opportunity to think about like my own values, what I want them to be, and how do I share those with my kids. And I happened to sort of fall into this job and this company where, I'm talking to people and working with people who are trying to make it better for everybody. And that is incredibly empowering. It is encouraging, right? Like we hear from the news and everything around us is just like horrific. And so I'm in this like little space of like, this person is like, I have this great person on my team or these people and we've promoted them and they don't have the skills. Like, help me build the skills. Like, great. That's amazing. You're going to buy loyalty from these people by helping them grow and get better.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's so interesting. And one, I love that you are looking at your values and placing those in the forefront. And that's actually at Deep Human X. We help people with AI enablement, but a lot of what we're doing is helping leaders to get grounded in their own values for themselves and for their teams. Because when you talk about, right, AI being able to, let's say it takes away 50% of your work world, right? Well, what are you going to fill that space up with, right? It should be aligned with your own personal values, things that you want to work on, right? You do have the option to just sit back and let your company and let other people tell you what to fill it up with. But like, we don't get this type of reset, right? Very often where you're like, 50% of my work might be cleared up and I could actually fill it with things that I value, right? Like, what is that? And that is a really beautiful thing. So I'm super proud of you for starting to look at that and to think about how do you how do you incorporate your values as you're growing within your business and moving things forward. And so when you're talking too, I love that you said you help your clients up level their their team skills. And I think that that's also another thing that's going to happen is tech is here to help, but like the skills that humans use are the actual more humanistic skills like creativity, innovation, empathy, like critical thinking, right? Much more than a linear thinking. I think that there's this opportunity, right, for us to really look at and up level ourselves and our team members at those much more human qualities. If I were to ask you, if you were to give our audience, a piece of advice, what three human skills would you recommend that they work on, that you can see maybe being, very valuable in the near future?
I think curiosity is critical and will never go away no matter what is happening, because if we're not thinking and using our brains to question AI or integrity around it, or how we better use it, like that is just going to be such a critical component to keep thinking and keep moving forward. It's just, and so that's first. Second, I would say creativity. And I'm going to say contemplative practice, because those things all go together so carefully. And especially as we integrate in AI into more and more components, you still have a brain that needs to process emotion and feeling. And so recognizing that asking the right questions allows your brain space, and practicing giving it space are like sort of, I think, really important components for leaders and for people who are trying to contribute at a high level to whatever they're doing. They have got to have those three components in my mind.
Oh, I love those. Those are all really great. And so what do you think? What if the workplace was filled with people, the future of work was filled with people who had really good creativity, really good contemplative, and really good curiosity? What do you think? What could that workplace look like?
Well, think about even just like curiosity. If we come from a place of curiosity instead of immediately putting up our defenses, you're talking about ego earlier. If you can ask the right questions, you can sort of eliminate the defensive position that you might put somebody in if you come from the right place. Creativity, going into a hard discussion or something that might be challenging, like what are the assumptions? What are the things that you're thinking about before you go into that meeting, that conference, that presentation? Like what? And I mean, people will be so much more thoughtful. And I mean, in a good or a bad way, but like just using their brains to contribute in a way that like, I don't think we're really tapping into right now.
I agree with you. I don't think we are, but well, I absolutely love your thinking. I love your optimism. I love your commitment to, right? Like, let's really just be leaders who can make a difference, because we're at a point of change anyways. Why not make it good for yourself and good for the workplace overall? So Meryl, I want to thank you for being on our podcast today. If the listeners wanted to check out your organization, where should we send them?
www.compassionateleaderscircle.com. You can find me, Meryl Eriksen, on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for listening, and hope everybody has a great day.